Hello all, and welcome to Behind the Seams with your narrator Jay from the Drunks on the Pond podcast. If you're new here, welcome. This series is about bringing players and their stories back to the light and giving them another chance to be heard. In this very special, listener-requested first ever, we'll be talking about the man with an extraordinary name, an extraordinary resume, and arguably one of the biggest pieces for one of the greatest accomplishments in all of sports. The three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce you to Mr. Vida Blue. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these stories and would like more, please make sure to subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and comment who you would love to hear about. Baseball has had plenty of storied careers, and I'm going to do my absolute best to keep these coming. Now let's get into it. Vida Rochelle Blue was born on July 28, 1949 to a father named Vida Blue Sr., and a mother named Sally Blue in Mansfield, Louisiana. Vida Jr. was the eldest of 6 children, and while his mother stayed home to take care of the children, his father worked as a laborer. As Vida was growing up, he was a two-sport kind of guy, playing football and baseball. And he was good. Damn good. He attended DeSoto High School, a segregated school in Mansfield where he continued to excel at the two sports, with one little problem. His school didn't have a baseball team, but his principal saw the skill that Vida possessed and decided to build a team around him. Talk about talent. Vida even threw a 7-inning no-hitter, striking out 21 batters. Now, simple math would say that he struck out every single batter that he faced. Unfortunately, not true. He actually ended up losing the game because he had surrendered 10 walks. As a football player, Vida excelled as a quarterback and had plenty of interest from big colleges such as Notre Dame, Houston, and Purdue. What makes this so crazy is that Houston was scouting Vida to play quarterback when there were no African American quarterbacks playing at any major college. As a decision was coming his way to either stick to baseball or play football, Vida was hit with devastating news. His father had died. Vida, seeing that his family was going to need help, made his decision. Because baseball would give him a payday faster than football, he chose to go into the 1967 MLB draft, where he was selected in the second round by the Oakland Athletics. He signed a 2-year deal worth $12,500 a year. Not terrible for that time. He liked baseball, but he later admitted he would have much rather played football. What could have been if he hadn't lost his father is truly hard to imagine. Blue had little time to rest, as later that year he began his professional baseball career in the Arizona Winter League, where he pitched alright. He pitched in 9 games, striking out 26 batters, but walking 22 in just 34 innings. Not good, but not awful either. In 1968, he reported to athletic spring training at the age of 18 and after was sent to the Burlington Bees of Class A, where he was able to work on his curveball and his control. He finished up the season with an 8-11 record, 152 innings pitched, striking out 231 while walking 80 batters. He even pitched a no-hitter in another 7-inning game. A big improvement over his Winter League numbers. In 1969, Vida was promoted to Double-A Birmingham, and in 15 games he went 10-3, striking out 112 and walking only 52. It's not terrible at all. Oakland Athletics owner Charlie Finley was like a kid on Christmas and could no longer wait to play with his new toy. And in July, Vida Blue was promoted to the Major League Club and was set to make his debut on the 20th against the California Angels, or as we now know them, the Los Angeles Angels. In his debut, he managed to go 6 innings, but a pair of home runs to Aurelio Rodriguez and Jim Spencer gave Blue the loss in the game. He did start 3 more games and managed to get himself a win against the New York Yankees on July 29th, but was sent to the bullpen for the rest of the season. He finished up the season with a 1-1 record, a 6.64 earned run average, striking out 24 and walking 18. I mean, he was 19 at the time. What could we have really expected? A coach of the Athletics by the name of Joe DiMaggio yes, the same, was ashamed of the Athletics for their decision to call him up, saying, "It was a shame to bring up a kid like that when he hasn't pitched 2 pro years. He throws as hard as anybody, but he hasn't learned to pitch yet." For the 1970 season, and to nobody's surprise, Blue started the season in AAA with the Iowa Oaks, where he came across a veteran named Juan Pizarro, a pitcher who Blue has gone on to say, "Pizarro helped me more than any single person in my career." From his help, Blue made an adjustment in his delivery, and in 17 games he went 12-3, a 2.17 ERA, striking out 165 and 133 innings. Domination would be the proper word to use. He was brought back to Oakland in September, and when I tell you he was good, he was damn good. In his first game back, he did hit a 3-run homer, but was chased from the game because, unfortunately, he was giving up runs. The next game, just your run-of-the-mill one-hitter against the Kansas City Royals, who didn't get their first hit until the 8th inning. September 21st, easily the biggest game of young Vida Blue's career, and he was matched up against that year's Cy Young winner, Jim Perry. Perry may have had the better season, but Blue dominated the game, throwing a no-hitter and only walking just one batter. A's owner Charlie Finley was so impressed he phoned his young arm and told him that he would receive $2,000 for his performance. With the other arms in the rotation, it was clear that Oakland was about to go on a run of pure domination. 1971, easily one of the greatest pitching seasons we've ever seen in baseball history. Though it didn't start as well as expected, he opened the season against the Washington Senators and shockingly didn't even make it out of the second inning. After getting the bad taste out of his mouth, he went on to win 10 games in a row, 9 of them being complete games. Numbers good enough to start the All-Star game, and even though he gave up home runs to Henry Aaron and Johnny Bench, he was able to pick up the win, the youngest in All-Star game history. Now, as great as the year was going, Blue was beginning to run into some trouble. He was getting tired, and unfortunately it showed. After picking up his 22nd win of the season, he went on to lose 4 of his last 9 starts. It needs to be mentioned that during the 1971 season, he pitched over 300 innings, something he's never done before. He finished the season with a 24-8 record, a 1.82 earned run average, 301 strikeouts, and would end up winning both the Cy Young and MVP award for his remarkable season. Unfortunately, the A's would lose in the playoffs that season and bring an anticlimactic end to his greatest season. There was one thing that happened during the 71 season that was memorable, but for all of the wrong reasons. Charlie Finley wanted to capitalize on Vida's success and approached him with an offer. For $2,000, he wanted Vida to legally change his middle name to True. Vida True Blue. Vida said no. Finley wouldn't let the idea rest, and he would put True Blue on the scoreboard when he pitched and even had the broadcasters calling him the name. Vida stepped in and asked all of the Athletics workers to not call him the name or even use it on the scoreboard. This would lead to a blow-up between Finley and Vida. At the end of the season, Vida wanted a payday for his performance, and honestly, I can't blame him. Blue during the season made $14,750, plus another $6,365 for postseason performance, and was even gifted a Cadillac by Charlie Finley as a bonus. Bob Gerst, who represented Vida, gave Finley his opening offer of $115,000. It's a big old bonus. Later, Gerst told Finley that Vida would accept $85,000, which was actually a little less than what the top 10 pitchers were making at the time. But Finley held out, saying that he wouldn't pay Vida any more than $50,000. This holdout would go all the way into the 1972 season, and when Vida, Gerst, and Finley were able to come to an agreement on a price of $63,000, Blue had already missed around 20 games of the 1972 season. The holdout was over. Unfortunately, though, the damage was done, as during the holdout, Vida hadn't practiced or pitched at all, and as the season came to an end, he finished with a 6-10 record and a solid 2.8 earned run average. Luckily, Vida's teammates had a great year and were able to make the playoffs, making their way all the way to the World Series. During the World Series, Blue was used as a reliever as his stats were better coming out of the bullpen instead of starting. It worked, as the Athletics would go on to beat the Cincinnati Reds in 7 games and win the World Series. In 1973, Vida returned to his 1971 form as he changed up his pitching style. As teammate Sal Bando had once said, Blue in 1971 was beating batters by overpowering them. And now, in 1973, he decided to overmatch them. In 263 innings, he only managed 158 strikeouts, but he still finished with a 20-9 record and a 3.28 ERA. It took a while for Blue to get his stride, but when he did, he was as dominant as ever, including winning 6 straight starts and going the distance in 4 of them, helping to take Oakland back into the postseason. Unfortunately, Blue's struggle in the starting role in the postseason made themselves known once again. He lost the first game, not even able to get out of the first inning, and in his second start, he was able to hold the Orioles off for a little while until a rally ultimately tied and won the Orioles the game. Luckily, the other Athletics once again carried the weight and brought the team back into the World Series that year against the New York Mets. Blue once again struggled. He started Game 2, got shelled, and in Game 5 he didn't get hit as hard, but gave up enough runs to lose the Athletics a game. Luckily, the Athletics were able to win the series again, but it was becoming abundantly clear that Blue was somebody that just couldn't be relied on in the postseason. 1974 was another solid year for Blue, and even though his record didn't truly show it, he made 40 starts and ended up with a 17-15 record and a 3.25 ERA. The Athletics once again made the postseason, and in 3 starts he won the first game, lost the second, and got the no decision in the game that would ultimately win them their 3rd consecutive World Series. Something that is so rarely done in sports, and something that could be argued is the hardest to do in baseball. The next season, 1975, was a truly strange one to say the least. Vida had his best season since 71, but the Athletics were going through some issues of their own. Luckily, Blue and teammate Ken Holtzman were able to carry the load of the Athletics as they once again made the postseason, but this time were swept out of the playoffs by the Boston Red Sox. He finished the season with a 22-11 record with just a 3 ERA. What makes this even stranger is that Vida played 10 more seasons in the majors, but never made another postseason appearance after 1975. His postseason record in 17 appearances would end with a 1-5 record and a 4.31 ERA. 76 and 77 were even tougher times as the championship continued to disband due to players being sold and leaving via free agency. 76, though, was a solid year for Blue despite the slow start for the Athletics as he finished with an 18-13 record and a 2.35 ERA. It's still solid. Unfortunately, 1977 was a bad year for Blue, and what made it worse was that Blue had signed a 3-year contract in the 76 season, and the A's were just in a down spiral at this point. He had his worst year by far, finishing with the league lead in losses with 19, only 14 wins, and an almost 4 ERA. To make things worse, they finished last, which was even behind the new expansion team, the Seattle Mariners. Yeah, the same Seattle Mariners. 1978, Blue was officially traded to the San Francisco Giants for 7 players and $300,000. A 7-for-1 trade and $300,000. Probably never see that again. With the change of scenery and ownership, Blue saw his numbers return to form as he pitched to an 18-10 record and a 2.79 ERA. He pitched in the All-Star game again that year, becoming the first pitcher to pitch in the game for both the NL and the AL. He finished 3rd in Cy Young voting, and the Sporting News named him the National League Pitcher of the Year. Not bad for a turnaround. Now, Blue only being 28 and still pretty young compared to a lot of the pitchers in the league, you would think that he would continue on his Hall of Fame path, right? Unfortunately not. Personal opinion, 78 was Blue's last good year, and his career was officially on the downturn. Though he did make the All-Star game twice in the next 3 years and did have a combined 36-30 record and a 3.47 ERA, you could see that he was beginning to slow down. The Giants noticed it too, and ultimately traded Vida to the Kansas City Royals at the end of spring training in 1982. He made a good impression in 1982 when he finished with a 13-12 record, a 3.78 ERA, and led the Royals pitching staff in strikeouts. Ultimately, in 1983 was easily the worst year of Blue's entire career. He started a handful of games, but was sitting with an 0-3 record, and he was sent to the bullpen. Ultimately, he would finish the season 0-5 and a 6.01 ERA. The Royals had just seen enough and outright released him. As if 1983 couldn't have gotten any worse, Blue and 3 teammates were implicated in buying cocaine. Scarface over here. Blue pleaded guilty and ended up serving 81 days in prison. MLB Commissioner Bowie Kuhn decided it wasn't enough, as on December 15th he suspended Blue for the entire 1984 season. After being reinstated, he decided to return to San Francisco in the spring of 1985. In 1985, after missing an entire year, he actually didn't pitch half bad as a starter and as a reliever. He finished with an 8-8 record and a 4.47 ERA. In 1986, the Giants decided to bring him back again, and he pitched strictly as a starter this time around. He finished with a 10-10 record and a 3.27 ERA. Not bad at all for the guy. After the year, he was finally a free agent and able to sign with any team he chose. That's kind of crazy to think about, man, is that he wasn't a free agent until the later part of his career. I couldn't imagine that. That's just crazy. What better way to possibly end a career than to return to the place it all began? Back in Oakland. Or so we thought. He abruptly retired in the spring of '87 and caught everybody off guard. It became rumored that he was still struggling with drug use, and instead of facing another suspension, he would rather end his career. Blue said in an interview that it was time for him to choose between baseball and life. There's no doubt he made the right decision. Blue was eligible for the Hall of Fame, but unfortunately did not get enough votes, and in 1995 was removed from the ballots. People have often wondered why he didn't get more consideration for the Hall, considering his numbers matched others who were already in. And sadly enough, it's easy to point the finger for his substance abuse. After leaving baseball, Vida remained close to the game doing charitable work, spoke to audiences about his struggle with substances, and even served as a television analyst for the San Francisco Giants. May 6, 2023, Vida Blue passed away due to complications from cancer. He was 73 years young. 209 wins, 161 losses, a 3.27 career earned run average, 2,175 strikeouts, and one of the most dominating pitchers in the 70s. Thank you to Society for American Baseball Research and Baseball Reference for information that was used to make this video. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode of Behind the Seams. This was easily the most informative one by far, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next couple I have lined up. Once again, my name is Jay, and I will see you all in the next video. Cheers.